What's up, JEFusion fans? This is Philip, and welcome back to another video. So there's one, tokusatsu franchise that I haven't talked about like since 2020. Yeah, it's been almost 4 years since I talked about the GARO franchise. So today I'm going to talk about the latest installment in the GARO franchise, which is GARO Hagane o Tsugumono, aka GARO Inheritor to Steel, or Inheritor of Steel as I prefer to call it, but I don't want to get too pedantic about it. But yeah, um, this is, if I'm correct, let me count first, like GARO. So, anyways, I couldn't count, but this is like the fifth installment, maybe sixth installment of the Ryuga Dougai series. Um, this is technically the third TV installment. Well, six if you include like the movies and the Jinga spin-off. But yeah, so this recent installment or this latest installment in the Garo universe is a continuation of Ryuga Dogai's story. And considering that it's like the 10th anniversary of Ryuga's adventure as Garo, I'm really excited because Garo has always has gone through different iterations. So of course we have the classic Garo series, featuring the Saejima clan, and we've also had Garo versus Road. So that was the last TV entry in the series, and we even had at least three animes included in this franchise. So not only is it a tokusatsu franchise, it's also an anime franchise. So again, like there have been like different worlds in the Garo series, but yeah, we're going back to Ryuga Dogai's story. So we have our hero Ryuga Dogai being summoned to a new area called Kriya City in order to destroy an object called the Gate of Destruction. So in the Garo universe, so there are objects called gates. So these can be like everyday objects, but they do have some sort of like sentimental or emotional connection to some people. And when those people are filled with negative energies, so those negative energies are channeled onto those objects and therefore become gates to which demonic beings called horrors can come out. So they come out and basically possess the person who's connected to those objects or gates. So in the world of Ryuga Dogai, so this gate of destruction is considered to be the first gate. So it did, cause a lot of destruction. That's why it's called the Gate of Destruction. I mean, obviously. So he's been summoned to Kriya City to help out, and maybe destroy the gate or find a way to stop it from spreading evil, because people have been turning into horrors left and right in Kriya City without more traditional or more typical gates. So there's something kind of wrong with it. So upon arriving in Kriya City, so he meets some Makai priests. The first one named Koyori, who informs him about his objective in Kriya City, so why he's there. So in the first episode, we are also introduced to another Makai knight, Soma Shirahane. So he is, you could also say, like another central figure in this story. Of course, Ryuga is our main protagonist, and so Soma summons an armor called a Hagane. Now this is where my interest like really went sky high. So the Hagane is a type of armor that Makai knights use in order to fight horrors. So armors like Garo are considered like special or elite, to put it simply, and Haganes are mass-produced armors that are given to knights who are of low pedigree, or they're not from elite families to be exact. So yeah, there's a classist situation, but also given to knights who aren't able to inherit armors. Like, let's say, for example, you're a knight, right? So you're a Makai knight, and it happens that your big brother inherits, let's say, the Garo armor. So, for example, but you couldn't because, well, your brother already has it, and you can't really share the armor at the same time unless your brother willingly gives it to you. Then you're left with no choice but to find a master who also wields a special armor. But when you have really no choice, you go with a Hagane. Or yeah, but Haganes are, well, kind of introduced way back in 2008. So in Garo Makai Senki, which is part of the Saejima universe, as I would call it, or the Saejima verse. So, uh, and I've read that so according to Keita Amemiya himself, so the Haganes in the Saejima verse came after special armors like Garo were created, and in fact, the Haganes were designed after Garo because it was the famous armor at that time. So, what's interesting is that the Haganes in the Ryuga verse actually came first, as Zaruba would actually say in the introduction of the show. So, in the world of the Saejima clan, so the special armors came first and then Haganes came next. But in the Ryuga verse, the Haganes came first and then the special armors like Garo came afterwards. So, like, they've improved on the Hagane armor and turning it into something special like the Garo. So yeah, it was really an interesting, thought that really differentiates both Garo worlds. So yeah, and again, having such an armor become a prominent figure this time around, because the Haganes that have been introduced in Garo Makai Senki were basically minor characters, right? Even like supporting characters that are Makai Knights wore special armor. And everyone else who isn't wearing a special armor, aka Hagane, you're an extra basically. But again, with the Hagane o Tsugumono, so the Haganes are really important right now. And what's interesting is that, like I've mentioned earlier, so the Haganes in the Saejima verse are actually kind of based on the Garo armor itself, which is why they look quite similar. You could say that the Haganes in the Saejima verse are like a cheaper version of the Garo. However, in the Ryuga verse, the Hagane armors are really unique in that they do not look like the Garo armor at all, and instead they are based more on like Japanese samurai armor. The most interesting design aspect is when you look at the back of the armor, there's a Hanya mask. So a Hanya mask is a kind of a demon-like mask that is worn during like a performance of a no play. So basically, it's like kabuki, but people wear masks instead of makeup. So a Hanya mask, is again a demon mask on the back, which is really, really cool in my opinion. So again, like, you wouldn't think at first that it's a mass-produced cheap armor, if you will, and really, it just blows my mind how the producers were able to make it look really, really cool despite what it actually is. So, of course, considering Garo has amazing fight scenes, I'm absolutely in love with the fight scenes in Garo. Like episode 3, because as of this recording, there are 3 episodes out. Um, episode 3 doesn't really feature any battles. So they don't fight any horrors. None of the knights transform into their armored forms, but it was basically a sparring contest, and even in sparring, like the fight choreography is really really amazing. So in terms of like characters, like uh, Ryuga Dougai is just my favorite Garo ever. Like, out of all the Garo iterations, both live action and anime, like Ryuga Dogai is my favorite Garo. So he has shown, at least from my perspective, he has shown the most growth and change over the past 10 years. So, like, his hairstyle and his fashion also changes quite a lot. And he's the only Garo to do so, in my opinion. Although in the anime, like Leon Luis of Seal of Flames and Divine Flame, so he does undergo like similar, character changes or like character development, but we see more of those in Ryuga. So in Ryuga's first appearance in Yamio Terasumono, uh, so we see him as kind of like an angsty teen, although he's basically in his 20s, like at least 20 years old that time. Now you would see that he has kind of like spiky hair, and his fighting style is quite aggressive and you might say kind of rough. Although, yeah, he has been trained as a Makai Knight, sure, so he knows how to fight, but he's the type of person who also gets, uh, carried away by emotions and things like that. So leading to some extremely like low points in his career as the Golden Knight. However, when it comes to the next installment, which is Garo Goldstorm Show, so we've seen Ryuga kind of mature after the events of Yamio Terasumono, considering that it was almost 5 years later. So we also see like his hair is pushed down instead of a spiky one. Although you could still see some flyaways here and there, but he looks more mature. He also fights more mature. So yeah, he has definitely grown. So he's still kind of well, he's definitely less prone to bursts of emotional outrage, but I mean, he still gets emotional from time to time, but he has learned to accept himself and even embrace his own darkness, if you will. Now comes the latest installment. So this currently airing Garo. So uh, Hagane o Tsugumono. Now in the introduction, so we already see how much like uh, you know Ryuga has matured. So not only is his hairstyle different, like he looks like well groomed compared to his past iterations, like especially like in Goldstorm Show. I mean, sure, he looks more mature than he was 10 years ago, but now he looks much more mature. And like under his coat, so he now wears a more like dignified shirt, as opposed to a more like ragged long sleeve shirt that is covered by like a special breastplate armor that his mother made when he was young. But yeah, not only does Ryuga look more refined and mature, his fighting style is also different. uh, I mean, he still kind of plays with his enemies a little bit. So you can see in the first episode how he even tries to poke fun at his enemies. But like, he definitely has grown stronger. While he is a bit less aggressive, like he doesn't really go in like attack wildly, you could say. He is, again, like, his fighting skill is a lot more refined than it was. I mean, sure, we already see some refined movements in Garo Goldstorm show, but like, he's just on a different level right now. So that's why I really, really like Ryuga Dogai as a character, and I that's why I think he's the best Garo that I've ever seen. But this is my own personal preference. Now, a side note, however, while Ryuga is my favorite Garo, I hopefully, if there's a new installment of Garo next year, hopefully they do a sequel of Versus Road, considering that it would be the fifth anniversary of Versus Road by like January of next year, so around January, February 2025. So I'm really hoping that we see a continuation of the Versus Road series, whether Sena Kuon returns as the Golden Knight, or they choose another, Garo to fill in the role. But I just want to see the story continue, because, like, I did love the concept of Versus Road. So it's definitely unique in its own universe. Like, it's clearly a different Garo universe. But the main character, the main Garo, doesn't, like, the Garo armor in that show is underutilized. Like, I understand, like, it's completely CGI, but like, it doesn't even appear as often as you would hope. Like, it's just on display most of the time, and the only time that it actually is, ever utilized was in the last episode. But again, CGI. So I really hope that by next year, so God of Versus Road would have a sequel, and hopefully it will also last at least 25 episodes, because that's how long most mainline Garo entries, are counted. So yeah. Anyways, I really do love Hagane Tsugumono. Like, it's already like a 5 out of 5, and it's only 3 episodes in, really. So I highly recommend watching it, by the way, because you can find it on the Garo official channel on YouTube. And not only that, they also have like subtitles in English and in other languages as well. Although the only drawback for me when watching on YouTube is that the subs are machine generated, most likely, because there's actually like Filipino translations. However, there are a lot of really, really weird translations that you would think, like, they're obviously machine translated. They don't sound natural, and like, some expressions or words aren't even translated into Filipino, but they're translated into English. So if you're a Filipino watching, Garo Hagane o Tsugumono on YouTube, just go for the English translations instead. Although they're not perfect either, but they're the best you can get. So yeah, if I do would like to reiterate, not really reiterate, because I haven't said it yet, but if you do watch Hagane o Tsugumono and it's your first time in the Garo franchise, I highly recommend that you at least check out, every entry in Ryuga's story in order to get more context, so where he's coming from, like how, like what kind of changes has he gone through, all these years, and you would probably get, so that you could probably get a better understanding of Ryuga as a character in this season, because well, you can skip if you want, but again, I highly recommend that you watch the other entries in the Ryuga verse, because you will have a deeper appreciation of our main protagonist if you do so. And yeah, I highly recommend you guys do that. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. As always, please do leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell so you get the latest from JEFusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.